In this video, we are going to do a review over the coordinate plane. In short, if you've already got the points plotted, we want you to be able to identify the coordinates of them. And conversely, if you are given the coordinates, you plot the points to create the graph. So the coordinate plane is nothing more than a system of recording a location or multiple locations. We split it up as a horizontal axis, which we call the x-axis. And then we also have a vertical axis, splitting it up, splitting the plane up into 4 sections, which we call quadrants. You likely remember that the quadrants are named in counterclockwise order, 1, 2, 3, and 4. A lot of times, authors will use these Roman numerals to count out 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also common just to use regular numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got the x-axis, we have the y-axis, we have the 4 quadrants, and the point in the middle is called the origin. In terms of vocabulary, I'm assuming all of these things are familiar. Continuing, we mentioned that the quadrant is one of the 4 sections of the coordinate plane. I also mentioned that the coordinate plane is a system for keeping track of locations. An ordered pair is a location in the plane. The notation we use to record that location is x followed by y. Of course, the x-coordinate is the first number in an ordered pair, and you ought to remember it determines how far left and right of the origin you are. Likewise, we have the y-coordinate. The y-coordinate is the second number in an ordered pair. That y-coordinate keeps track of how far up or down you go, how far above or below the origin you are. All right, putting those 2 pieces together, and of course we'll touch on this a little bit farther, but let's say we've got a point over here, and we wanted to identify the coordinates for that point. Based on the origin, we know that we would have to go some number of units to the left. If going 4 to the left would tell us -4, and we would also have to start coming up a few. However far up we come, that's the y-coordinate. And we'll address these with a few more examples in a second. The last piece of vocabulary we need is a scatter plot. A scatter plot is a way of showing data that occurs in paired form. So for instance, your height and weight are two pieces of data. We could record each person in a graph, in a scatter plot, by putting down an ordered pair for their height and weight on an X and Y coordinate system. We could go the age of your car and how many miles are on your car. So our first piece, we need to give the coordinates for this point A. Everything we do is based off distances from the origin. And so we're looking at it and saying we had to go to the left. How far?
2.
Okay, so our x coordinate is left 2. From there, we had to go up. How far?
33.
So we went up 3. We have our coordinates. We're done. For point B, well, before we do that, let's address the component at the bottom. We're noting that point A was 2 units to the left of the origin, and it was 3 units above the origin. That's how we were able to identify that the x-coordinate was left for a negative 2. The y-coordinate was a positive for up and 3, which is how we were able to very quickly ascertain the coordinates are negative 2, 3. Left is negative, right is positive. For the yellow, it's tough to see. Okay. Then let me switch over to the colors, and I'll just write over the top of all this. Is that better?
It's way better.
Okay, and I'll switch to a like blue for the other one.
Anyone else think about ketchup and mustard?
Yeah.
Everybody else is thinking about ketchup and mustard now. Okay. All right, so we'll continue doing the same thing for point B now. Point B, from the origin, we had to go to the right and down. How far to the right did we go?
4.
All right, so we went 4 units to the right of the origin, and we also went how far down?
1.
So we went 1 unit down. Thus, since we went to the right, our x-coordinate has to be a positive. Since we went down, the y-coordinate has to be a negative. Therefore, we have 4, negative 1, 4 to the right, down 1 for our coordinates. All right, so let's identify them. What are the coordinates for point C? From the origin, how far left did we go? So we went left 2, negative 2 for the x-coordinate.
0.
And then up or down?
0.
We didn't, so it's 0. Progressing to point D, located right here. How far to the left and how far down did we go? Left 4, down 3. Let's finish. To point E. What are the coordinates? Right 2, and then down 4. So we have right 2, down 4. And we're done. Right, with these ones, instead of identifying the points, we want to plot them. And so we know we are always going to begin at the origin. So for point A, where do we start by moving?
To 0.
Our first coordinate was 2, so we're going to go 2 units to the right. Our y coordinate is 3, so we'll go 3 units up. And so we would go right 2, up 3. And of course, you don't actually have to draw out the lines. I'm putting them down just so people can see where it's going. But then we get our point A. Which quadrant is that located in?
1.
Okay, so we would be able to say then point A is located in quadrant 1. Progressing to point B, -4, 0. We'd have to go 4 units to the left. Our up and down is 0, so we don't go up or down. We wind up located right here. What about its location?
3 and 4. Or does it have one?
This is a piece that you have to be careful about because sometimes students say quadrant 3, sometimes students will say quadrant 4 or quadrant 2. It's not in a quadrant at all. The lines, or x and y axes, are not a part of any quadrant. And so we can't say it's in quadrant 1 or in quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or anywhere. We need to instead describe it as being on the x-axis. There's a difference between being located inside a quadrant and on an axis. Progressing to problem C, with the point 1, -3, we're going to have to go 1 unit to the right, since it was a positive 1 in the x-coordinate. We will have to go 3 units down. And so we would be 1 to the right, down 3. What location is this?
Q4.
That's located inside quadrant 4. Let's plot our points. D is located at 0, 3. So left and right is going to be not at all. Just straight to up 3. Where is that located? That is on the y-axis, yes. Point E, -2, -4. That's left 2 and down 4. We know the first coordinate is the left and right. The second coordinate is the up and down.
Third. Q.
So that's in quadrant 3. And lastly, point F, -1, 2.
Q.
That's left 1 and up 2. Left and right first. And then the second number is your up and down. And you are correct, Charlie. That is located inside quadrant 2. Now the last thing we needed to do was to create a scatter plot. And a scatter plot is nothing more than having your data and plotting a boatload of points just so that we can look for trends. In this particular instance, they could say the number of hours you spent studying for 5 different math tests, and also the score you got for each test is recorded here. Make a scatter plot and describe any relationship you see. All right, so the first thing we're looking at is 155, 1 hour of studying led to a score of 55. We can plot that point. 1 hour of studying came up to a score of 55, and so there's 1 point. Continuing, our next one, we had the ordered pair 378. 3 hours of studying led to a 78, so we would go 3 hours of studying up to a score of 78 and plot our point. Similarly, we have 486. 4 hours, a test score of 86. So it's off a little bit. I want to fix that. Then we had 4 hours with an 89, which is located right here. And lastly, we had 5 hours to get a 98. And so we have this general trend. So what we're noting, we've created our scatter plot. And what kind of trend do you see going on? The points are increasing from left to right. That tells us that the more, we can conclude that the hours you spend studying, that as the hours you spend studying increases, your test score also increases, which really shouldn't come as a shock to anybody, right? If you want to do better on a math test, you should study. That's our scatter plot. All we have to do is take the data, record them as an ordered pair, plot the points, and then look for a trend in the graph. As the test hours go up, the test scores go up too. And that finishes everything we needed for it.